I want to share with you today one of the main ideas of the cooperation paradigm. And it's the one that in nature, actually, we have more cooperation than competition. In fact, the history of evolution is the history of going from more competition to more and more cooperation. And this is what leads to increasing complexity and increasing life on the planet. That way of cooperating with each other among different beings is what allows for more life to happen on the planet. Okay, and I think Paul Stamets, which is an expert in fungi, says this really well. This is what he says: it's no longer the survival of the fittest, but an extension of generosity to others. And he goes into saying in this podcast that he would like to redefine the Darwinian theory, because most people, when you talk about Darwin and the history of life, how it happens, they always think about the law of the jungle, right? And what is the law of the jungle? It's the law of the strongest. But it's really not the law of the strongest. It's the law of those beings that are able to adapt the most. And one thing that you need to adapt and to be able to be resilient is to lean on each other, to help each other, to cooperate. And we see this, for example, in forests and other communities like that. So in his words, he says something that I love. He says, I want to redefine the Darwinian theory. It is not the survival of the fittest. It's the extension of generosity of surplus to other members in the ecological community to build biodiversity. So it's not the individual that survives, it's the community that cooperates that survives. End of quotations. I love this, and it's the truth. That's how nature works, and that's what we also, as a humanity, as a society, we need to learn to help each other, to lean on each other, to cooperate. This is how we're gonna thrive. Otherwise, we're not gonna thrive. We're gonna keep being divided and keep suffering. And I want to leave you now with something that is amazing, and it's that this experiment that they did with slime, that shows you the inherent intelligence in nature and how we should learn so much from nature. And that's why it's the first of the second chapter in the book, the upcoming book that I'm working on, Cooperation Paradigm, because to me it's the basis of everything. If we look into nature, we can learn from higher intelligence. And there's no doubt that there is higher intelligence in nature. If you have any doubt, check this out. A slime mold outperforming humans.
Mark is recreating an experiment he worked on with colleagues at Tokyo University. He takes a blob of slime mold and then surrounds it with a pattern of oat flakes, an irresistible treat to the slime mold. What happens next is recorded by a time-lapse camera. The slime mold locates the oat flakes by growing out in all directions. But within hours, the slime mold shrinks back, leaving an intricate web of tubes that connect the oat flakes. It's these tubes that transfer nutrients around the slime mold. Incredibly, everything you can see is part of one single cell.
It needs to build a network that's quite efficient to transport all those resources around. At the same time, that network mustn't cost too much. It mustn't take up too many of its own resources. And then the other problem it has is it's going to be subject to damage. And so if there was only ever one connection, there's a risk that would break.
The slime mold takes no chances. It grows backup roots to make sure that its food supply isn't cut off. But there's something even more extraordinary about what the slime mold has done. Mark hasn't just laid out the flakes in a random pattern.
The large blob in the middle is Tokyo.
Right.
And each of these food sources is positioned as one of the cities nearby Tokyo.
So it's a recreation of the area around Tokyo.
Indeed. So this is actually what it's based on. This is the rail network around Tokyo. And we can superimpose that over. Okay, so we're going to line it up.
That's identical. It's absolutely identical.
So you see a lot of these connections, it's formed the same sort of links. It's got a few extra ones in as well. It's a slightly more resilient network than the ones that the engineers designed.
You're telling me, wait a minute, that this slime mold has built a better network
A remarkably
than the humans
network.
built.
Yes.
The Tokyo rail system is one of the most efficient and well-organized in the world. It took lots of skilled engineers using lots of brain power to plan it. Yet somehow, Slimold has achieved the same goal, how to efficiently link together multiple locations.